Hello, everybody. Welcome to this July community call. Let me untoggle Eric. What's up, Eric? How are you?
What's up, man?
Sounds good. We're super excited to have you guys for this month community call. We have a lot to do and a lot to present. Let's just get kick-started. Eric, you want to quickly share what we will talk about today?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Eric. I'm the MetaMask DevRel. Here with Francesco. We're going to be kicking off with an introduction and a recap of ETHCC from Francesco, talking about kind of all the stuff that went on in Brussels. And then after that, we're going to have a couple of technical demos, interviews from the DeFi adapters team, product, John Bonham. MetaMask Delegation ToolKit with Ryan McPeck, and our winner from ETHCC, the balloon game that we had at ETHCC. So we have the winner here that we'll talk to him about that whole experience. And then finally, we will have our ETH Global Brussels bounty winners, which is Sync Safe, and that's going to be really great. They had one of the best submissions that we had from ETH Global Brussels. So super excited to talk about that with them. And finally, some QA and discussion. So if there's anything that you see that you want to discuss or ask questions, you can ask questions to the chat. Otherwise, we can address those questions towards the end of the call. Over to you.
Sounds good, Eric. Awesome. Okay, so cool energy. What were your best moments at ETHCC, Eric? I remember you were jumping from events to events and workshops.
Yeah, I think, my favorite thing at these events is always ETH Global, being embedded with the hackers and working with them. But kind of outside of that, we had some really great events at the Waypoint, including kind of Builder Day, although we had some issues kind of doing the entire Builder Day. The Builder Day workshops were amazing. Also the AVS Day and seeing all the demos from all the different teams at AVS Day was just interesting. I guess they had this really quick lightning round of for the demos, and if people went over the minute, they got someone blowing a whistle in their ear, and I thought that was pretty hilarious. But overall, the Waypoint event was just 4 days of kind of really good presentations, panels, and demos. Yeah, workshops.
Nice. Yeah, we will jump in a little bit like doing this quick ECC recap, but let's get it started, right? I really enjoy all the energy and everybody responding and writing in the chat. So if you guys have any questions, feel free always to jump in the chat. So just a little bit like a context, why we're doing those calls, because those are having this monthly MetaMask developer cadence, but why really like are we here and what are those calls about, right? And we put a couple of like stickers just to show what this is all about, right? We want to show, not tell, how to build things with MetaMask. Like our goal obviously is having you guys and showing like the highlights of our products. So with like would be from release notes to product updates to demos, and most importantly also like having strong community members presenting and showing what they built within the MetaMask developer suite, and much more, right? And the goal is really to give like a platform to anybody here to showcase what they built, but in the same time also highlighting all the great product updates that were coming every month and shipping during those days. And yeah, we're always excited to be here and creating this kind of like ways to engage with all the developer community in different ways. These community calls are one way. We have different like stuff like Twitter Space. We're always on side, and also like way to engage. There are different ways. Also, there are different like ways. Also Discord, Discourse, and many other channels. Okay, let's get a bit started. So I don't know how many of you guys have been in ECC. If you've been like mentioned that in the chat, they were always exciting to see familiar faces. But we ran a lot of events. We co-hosted three events. We did our own 7 events. But the most important part is that we were able to really showing the community what MetaMask, Linea, and Consensus is all about. Really sharing and spreading great moments, and 2,000 plus people show up. We tried to put some impression down, some slide up, but we wanted to highlight a couple of events. One event was the MetaMask Spotlight that we did was 1 day full events talking about everything on chain, right? So think about from account abstraction topic, from smart accounts, from different like UX topic, onboarding developers and users, but also like infra verticals on the dev tooling side, but also like ways to engage with the community through like growing experiments and kind of like the lesson learned, and everything will be online. So I think during those days you will see a bunch of like YouTube videos that you can pick up for the people that were not there. And the cool thing is that again we did a lot of like showing with partners. We had like a full floor of like different partners table, and it was actually quite great. And one cool fun fact was that around like 1,500 people showed up, but around 30% of the audience were intermediate and above developers, right? So a lot of like people showing at this conference also like they want to really like learn about the Web3 stack. Well, and you want to comment something, Eric, about this picture? That I see your face.
I hate that picture. But no, I mean, great networking going on, set to some really good music. That's all I would say. Additionally, the shirts were really cool too. The screen printing, or not screen printing, but the vinyl printing things that they were doing there. Awesome. Like really cool, fun things for people to do.
Nice.
Big ups to our event
team.
Was
very, and I see already the chat. Yes, and I see already in the chat that people are, and the comments you're speaking about delegatable SDK, and we will also talk about it later, and that's super exciting. The second highlight that we want to do for all the developers out here, and if you're a developer, feel free to like put something in the chat, like yes or something, so that we see like how many devs we have in the audience. But the hackathon, the ETH Global Brussels hackathon, was definitely like a big highlight. Eric did a great workshop on SDK, deploying his dApp on Linea, and it was quite interesting. We got different feedbacks. Fun fact, also like one of the winners of the bounty also went in the 10 top finalist called OSNAP, and I think not in this community call, but in the next one we will have them present what they built, and that's actually like super exciting. Okay, sounds good. One thing that we wanted to share also is that I don't know how many of you guys know Kingsley. He's a great technical content writer in Consensus, and he created this blog post. So if you guys never been in ETHCC for this year, feel free also to check it out. It's 5 insights from ETHCC in the future of Ethereum. There are different like kind of like takeaway from like UX to like infra to like we need more consumer dApp. And by the way, I couldn't agree more. I see a lot of like infrastructure project, not just raising, but also like presenting things at ETHCC. And there are different ways. So feel free to check this out. I think it's a great way also to stay engaged. And we will push the link in the chat. What are your key takeaways, Eric, that you've been seeing at ETHCC from like the product ways and the developer angle?
From ETHCC specifically?
Yes, or at least like the last conference that you've been, like any trends that you see popping.
I'm starting to, you know, I think one of the reasons why I think it's going to be great to have Ryan on, and I think I'll let him talk to some of that more, is some of the, I guess, kind of renewed energy in and around kind of 4337 and account abstraction and delegation. But beyond that, just I think like as a developer, what I really like to see at these events is like the progression of all of the tooling in and around Web3 that continues to advance. So that's usually what I'm looking out for there. Not necessarily themes or kind of topics that are kind of, I guess, hot all of a sudden, but continuing to see how, I guess, our ecosystem and the tools that are available are maturing. Yeah, so
100%. Yeah, one major takeaway for me was that we definitely need more like, let's say, consumer facing like dApps. Like in general, we spoke a lot about, you know, infrastructure deployment and a lot of risk-taking and ABS narratives, but definitely like seeing more like consumer products will have been great. And I think like we are definitely like on the way to see much more of this, not just with, you know, like Farcaster and specific social media use case. Cool, sounds good. I think let's move to our second part. We will invite now Johann. He will speak everything around DeFi adapters. You guys gave a great presentation during Builder Days, if I remember correctly, and also like the demo. And yeah, you want to quickly introduce yourself, Johann, before you're starting with all the adapter now?
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Francesco. Hey, folks. My name is Johann Bornman. I'm the Director of Product Management at MetaMask Institutional. Going to step through the DeFi adapters today, and hopefully this will delight folks in terms of the exciting developer experience we've created. So let me go ahead and share my slides. Francesco, just give me a heads up, please, if you can see my slides.
I can see it.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Excellent. All right, so let me jump in. The agenda I want to cover today essentially is what are the DeFi adapters and why are they important? And talk a little bit about how do they work. I'm going to talk a little bit about where are they used, and very importantly, the delightful developer experience we've created. And then lastly, of course, very importantly for this call, I'll talk about how you can build one. And just to maybe tie back the dots that Francesco opened with, we gave a presentation at ETHCC and spent some time with Angle building a live adapter in front of the audience in 30 minutes. And I'll talk a bit more about that throughout the presentation. So first and foremost, what are the DeFi adapters and why do they matter? So DeFi, I think we have to start from first principles to understand the adapters and why they're important. So focus on their importance. The idea would be, well, first and foremost, that DeFi is a very big deal. You can look at very different metrics across the ecosystem. You look at TVL, you can look at transaction volumes. Arguably, this is one of the verticals that has product market fit within the ecosystem. Now, this is a famous slide within Consensus. It looks at the various different primitives that exist on the left that are traditional. And of course, we are rebuilding them from first principles within Web3. And this is profoundly important because it's making the entire system more interoperable, more transparent, more secure, and of course, giving access to everyone. really aligning with our Web3 values. But DeFi data is hard. And the first problem we find in DeFi data is that all of us have probably experienced this on this call. We go to our favorite DeFi portfolio dashboard and we can't see the assets that we've allocated to. And that is because there's this constant race that exists between data providers and users. And as users, we're always out of the frontier of DeFi. We're allocating different DeFi protocols, and data providers are constantly trying to index that data. And if you look at the amazing portfolio dashboards that exist with the ecosystem, the number one user request they constantly get is, hey, can you show my position within the DeFi protocol? And we think about this slightly differently. We think from first principles, how might we, at the point where DeFi protocol is created and wallet support is given access, how might there also be a DeFi adapter that gets built? The second problem that exists is that there's no insight in terms of profit and loss and performance. So we work on the institutional side with a lot of organizations. They pay institutions tens of thousands of dollars to try and work out what their performance is. And we think this should be democratized to everyone, to consumers, to everyone. And so we want to make sure that there's rich and in-depth DeFi data that tells you actually, are you up or are you down in your position? Problem with 3, DeFi protocols aren't being connected to users at scale. And today, obviously, a lot of these portfolio dashboards link out to DeFi protocols. We think that's amazing. But very importantly, imagine there was a right standard. Imagine that front ends could be deployed in all sorts of experiences in traditional organizations and fintech product experiences, ensuring more users get access to DeFi. Problem number 4, there's no standard in the ecosystem for both read and write data. There's no open source standard today. And this closely ties in with the last problem, that there are different teams solving this problem in different ways. Now, there are, again, a lot of teams doing different things. We think they're all amazing. And essentially, they're attacking this problem through their various different solutions. Some provide APIs, which you, of course, have to pay for. Sometimes those APIs can be very expensive. Others have started with an SDK and then later deprecated that solution. And then lastly, some teams have started with adapters, but then have moved into an open source contribution, sort of a no-code solution. So what are the DeFi adapters? Well, first and foremost, an open source read and write standard. Secondly, they provide rich and in-depth DeFi data. They benefit the wider ecosystem. So any contribution can be used by an entire ecosystem, and they provide a seamless and simple, delightful developer experience. So how do they work? So here's a very simple slide. Explains to me like I'm 5 years old. It's an open source library written in TypeScript. DeFi protocols are contributing to the library by building DeFi adapters that can be merged into the library and then benefit the entire ecosystem. An adapter is built for every single product within the protocol, and the adapter indexes protocol tokens, saves information of the underlying tokens, and then very importantly has the matted side so it can calculate the underlying position of the user. We also use an on-chain oracle to get prices for the underlying token so we can actually value the position. And these adapters apply to multiple different blockchains. And very importantly, as I've already mentioned, this library is open source. It can be used by anyone. Anyone can contribute. So just to kind of step through that in a bit more detail, imagine Alice. She has a Aave position. She uses a portfolio dashboard, connects her address to that portfolio dashboard. Therefore, the adapters can be used to look at her address, determine if she has an Aave position within the address, get the balance of that position, resolve that balance to the underlying tokens within her Aave position, price those underlying tokens, and then give her a DeFi position and value her position. So where are they used? So today, the DeFi adapters are used both within the MetaMask as well as MetaMask institutional portfolio dashboards. They're exposed to millions of users. This is how we power our DeFi positions. Folks, no doubt, would have navigated to either of these experiences to see their DeFi positions. And very importantly, they provide rich and in-depth P&L and performance data. So again, it's not just positions, it's also P&L and performance. Now, probably most pertinent for this call, I'm going to talk a little bit about the delightful developer experience we've created. And this has been a core focus for us within the team. How might we ensure that we offer developers really exceptional developer tooling, a delightful experience in terms of understanding how to build an adapter, And a goal within the team has been, how might we build or empower an engineer to build an adapter within 4 hours or less? So very simple, 6 easy steps. Essentially, you obviously will pull the repo. There's some run the adapter to the command to launch the CLI. There are some step-by-step guides in order to build with the adapters, and we actually have built a command line interface that allows you to answer a simple few questions, have code snippets built for you that you can then very seamlessly just review. We also provide a UI where you can then actually add an address to that UI, so you can check the position within the DeFi protocol that you've created or for the adapter you've built. And then lastly, adding some snapshot tests before merging that code. And very importantly, and of course, we're talking about the delightful developer experience, making sure you've got exceptional documentation. So there's a step-by-step guide that lives within the repo to guide you through every single step of building an adapter. We also provide a video tutorial for every single step that you're taking in terms of building an adapter. And then lastly, our CLI. This is something we're quite proud of. Again, we ask a series of questions. You can answer the series of questions within the CLI. This builds code snippets for you to build most of the adapter to make sure that all the methods are present. You can then view that output and then essentially merge the adapter to the repo. And we've been getting a lot of props throughout the ecosystem. If you look on Twitter, you've been seeing a lot of DeFi protocols contributing to this library and giving shout outs in terms of the exceptional experience, in terms of how easy it is to build an adapter with this library. And as mentioned, Francesco started this at the start of the presentation. He mentioned that we were at ETHCC. This is a little picture from that event where Angle built a protocol live on stage within 30 minutes. So how can you build an adapter? Very, very easy. If folks want to scan this QR code, I believe the slides are available as well online. This will direct you to an online type form, fill in a few questions, you can get started very, very seamlessly. And with that, I will hand over.
Sounds good. Sounds good, John. Actually, like this is a good. What are the use case that you're seeing right now? They're kind of like you see either people have been built or you need more type of adapters that you're thinking right now.
Yeah, so it's interesting how the adaptive building has mirrored trends on chain. A good example of that is EigenLayer. We're seeing a lot of demand for EigenLayer at the moment. Obviously, a lot of interest in adapters within layer 2s. Important to note, we offer a few ways to also build with the adapters that might also be very seamless for folks. We have an SDK, there's an API as well. And in terms of those experiences, we're seeing a lot of organizations starting to build their own DeFi dashboards, with these endpoints. And then lastly, you're also starting to see really interesting use cases with in fintechs. So fintechs want to give access to their users in terms of DeFi exposure more broadly. So it kind of expands the gamut from single developers all the way to larger organizations.
That's super interesting. Yeah, this is a very side note, but I saw was that yesterday that Revolut got the license for the UK after 3 years. I mean, it has nothing to do, but super interesting. Congrats.
Yeah, well, clearly someone on the team should call them up if they want to show some DeFi positions now with their experiences.
Sounds good. Yeah, we have also a comment from Carla in LinkedIn that we're speaking about, like how you're saying like the gap exists in both regulation, commercial terms and condition, and data models. It's quite interesting. There is definitely like a need for this. Maybe Johann, like a question, like you were also like in Brussels and in different like developer experience kind of like activation. Like what do you think is the biggest challenge for developers to build either adapters or to push this narrative?
It's an interesting question because I'm slightly biased in saying that there are no challenges because we've received such fantastic feedback thus far. What I will say is that it does definitely require a developer to have some understanding of the DeFi protocol. I think if you're starting from scratch, there's obviously some bit of a learning curve. Probably much easier to start with a Compound or Aave, but once you're stepping into far more complex protocols like Convex or Curve, it does require some base level understanding of how the DeFi protocol works. Some of the first principles of how they interact. and we've seen a bit of a learning curve there. But ultimately, if there is a base level knowledge of the DeFi protocol, the building experience itself, I would say, is delightful.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I remember that you guys showed also in the workshop last week, a couple of weeks ago, the DeFi GitHub library, right? You had all the list of the adapters. That was actually quite cool. Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you so much, Johann. For anybody has any question, like, feel free to DM in. And thanks for joining this monthly call. Okay, sounds good. Let's move. I think that's something that is super exciting on. Let me check. I have here the presentation on delegatables here. Cool. So I will invite now. We have here Ryan on the call and Niels. So welcome, guys, to the call. I think you guys want to share your screen, but please feel free to introduce yourself, and that's exciting. I think, like, we heard for the first time officially and publicly on the delegation tool a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, like, looking forward for this presentation. I think you guys also, like, will walk through the presentation that you did during MetaMask Spotlight, and then we'll speak about the balloon challenge. So excited to be here, and feel free to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Francesco. Super excited to be here as well. And yeah, so I'm gonna go through some of the slides that I did share at Spotlight, which was a great event. Thanks everyone at MetaMask who put that on. That was a terrific event. And then I have Niels here, the lucky, amazing winner of Red Balloon Challenge that we did during ETHCC. And you might be thinking, like, you know, what is this red balloon thing? So before we get into it, let me.
You want to share?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen here, and then I'm gonna kind of give it over to you, Niels. And then you can introduce yourself and talk about your experience and everything like that. So let me try to share my screen here. And okay, here we go. Can we see this? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm engineering lead at MetaMask for everything delegation. And I'm going to kind of try to go through this really quick because we're limited on time. So what we announced and what we're excited about is this delegation toolkit that we announced at ETHCC. And so it kind of contains two main things. One, the delegation framework, which is like the open source smart contracts that enable this kind of extensible permission system, this object capabilities kind of framework. And then the VM-based libraries that enable invisible accounts, embedded accounts that you experience through Red Balloon. So yeah, so just a quick recap. What the main purpose of this and what gives it the power is this redeem delegation on what we call our delegation manager, which is a ERC 7710 manager. And you can see here the bytes data and then the action. The action is just what you want to do on chain. The data is what authority you have to perform that action. And so we're going to dive into the data part of this. And so this is what the delegation is. This is the solidity struct of a delegation. And it tells you who you want to share authority with. Who do I want to allow someone to perform an on-chain action on my behalf? And then you can have these caveats that are like restrictions to this permission, to the sharing, so that you can scope it down. Like, here's the authority, but you can do it within this time frame, or you can only access this on-chain action, or you can only do this, that, and the other. And yeah, we're going to keep it moving. So here's an example: Alice, Bob, Carol to the actual on-chain action. Alice delegates this to Bob. Bob can then redelegate that authority and attenuate it further to Carol. Carol then executes this action, which then the call actually comes from Alice's account to the contract to make that action. These are the caveat enforcers that make that possible, which is just a contract. So the address for the contract is there. The terms are the instructions set by the delegator, and the args are kind of like any sort of input that the end redeemer wants to add to the delegation, to the caveat rather. All right, so here's a quick example. The redeemer being Carol calls redeem delegation on the delegation manager. The delegation manager then takes that and calls all the caveat enforcers and executes the before hook of the caveat enforcers, making sure that, hey, the restrictions that was set by the delegator doesn't make sense. This on-chain action that the redeemer is trying to do, is it allowed? And if this reverts, the whole thing reverts. It's all atomic. If not, then the call goes to the root delegator, which would be Alice, and then Alice executes that action. So the action could be like an NFT contract, and the action is transfer on the NFT contract, and then you're transferring an NFT. And then the after hook would go through the same caveat enforcers and just enforce the after hook of those caveat enforcers. Redeem batch was necessary for the red balloon. So since there was a number of delegations that needed to be executed atomically, we needed multiple permission contexts, multiple datas, multiple authorities to be enforced before the actions took place and after the actions took place. So that's what you allow here. Caveat enforcers have before hooks. We're going to kind of skip ahead. So this is what we're dealing with the before hook of the red balloon. So yeah, you might be saying, oh, what is this red balloon? So what we did around ETHCC, for those who weren't aware, is we created this similar to the DARPA challenge, where there's 10 red balloons, and if you find all of them, you win a prize. The problem is that you're not going to be able to find all of them. You're going to need some help. And what this does is it allows you, if you find a red balloon, you can share that with someone and offer a commission. So if you find a red balloon, you could give that to someone else and say, I'll let you use my red balloon so that you might be able to win, but I want 10% of the prize. And that's what this offered. So one of the enforcers we needed here was the assigned holder. This restricts it specifically. Here's a delegation to find this red balloon, but the only action you can call is assign holder on the specific red balloon contract. Yeah, so I'm gonna actually skip through this. The talk at my talk at Spotlight should be posted by, they say, tomorrow. So if you want like the long version of this, then check that out. All right, so red balloon, fun. So here we go. Alice finds a red balloon, Dave finds a red balloon. Alice shares it with Bob, Bob shares it with Carol. Ultimately, Carol wants to win. Dave shares it with Frank, Frank shares it with Carol. They all add commissions at every single level. But to win, Carol then has to pay those commissions, and that's the only way. How that's enforced is in our delegation framework using the after hooks of the caveat enforcers. Again, yeah, that's kind of repetitive. Here's some of the contracts that were needed. I might kind of just blow through this real quick. But this is the native allowance enforcer that enforces the correct permissions are paid out. And this one actually, oh, this is actually the native allowance enforcer. And this one's the paid enforcer that actually does the paying after all the correct executions happened. And this is winning the game. So there's 10 balloons. Each balloon is a delegation. So we need to pack up those 10 delegations and do that one normal transaction, which was to claim the win. So you have 11 total actions, and there's only one transaction to win the game, which was like 50 cents on Linea, which was super cool. All these interactions with players and whatnot were off-chain counterfactual delegations. So there weren't any kind of friction. Everything happened off-chain, no gas. It was super, super good. All right, so blowing through that. And then here's the end, just a little call to action. Sign up with us to enter our gated alpha. We're looking for partners to build closely together so that we can build more experiences like this invisible account with Red Balloon or whatever you have in mind. So come gator.metamask.io and sign up and build with us. So now I'm going to kind of bounce it back. And now that we have a little bit of context of Red Balloon, I probably missed a whole bunch. But I want to pass it over to Niels, the winner of Red Balloon. Niels, you want to give an intro and just talk about your experience, how you found out about the game, and we can go from there. I'm going to stop sharing, actually.
Yeah, sounds good. So funnily enough, now I actually know how it works. I'm actually not a techie myself, so I'm more on the business development side. But yeah, basically my name is Niels. I'm the business development manager for Balloon.xyz. no relation. What we basically are is a Web3 CRM end-to-end marketing platform. Basically, we're building on the premise, and we hope we're correct, that, a lot of data is moving from online to on-chain, which basically means that a lot of companies, are using these kind of Web2 tools to understand their users based on Web2 data. But yeah, that's where we come in. We actually allow you to use Web3 data. So yeah, I was basically at ETHCC to kind of, talk to a lot of people. I guess that's what you do as a BD person. So, it's also not a surprise that a BD person is sitting here. And yeah, like, I guess devs were busy coding. But yeah, so basically the way that I got started with it, I was at the Linneo Voyage Waypoint in Brussels, so kind of a side event to ETHCC. And at one point, somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, are you playing the balloon game?" And I was like, "What?" And then he kind of looks at my shirt, and it's like a bright yellow shirt. It says balloon.xyz on it. So yeah, so I basically got started because of a happy coincidence, which was cool. And then basically he explained to me that there's this event going on where if you find like 10 red balloons scattered around the event, scan the QR codes, then you can basically collect all of the balloons yourself. And if you're the one who does that, then you win. That was great. I talked to him a little bit more. I got excited about it. And then, I didn't actually get any from him immediately. But then the day after, I kind of went to a specific spot where he told me that there was a balloon. But then it kind of also became clear to me that these balloons, they show up and they also disappear pretty quickly. So that meant as well that it's not just about scanning the balloons yourself, but you also have this kind of working together. And once you get that, right, you have to start negotiating, exactly as Ryan mentioned, with the commission structure, like that becomes a thing. So you kind of get this kind of setup of you need to talk to people, find your own balloons, make your own strategy, right? I found somebody, they gave me a bunch of balloons for a really high commission. I was like, cool, whatever. I have a lot of balloons, but I have a really high commission as well, right? And then when I was one balloon away from winning, I started to take it a little more seriously. And I actually read, I guess, the fine print. And I think maybe like a few people might have missed this, but if you actually read like through it, you could also see that the commission structure was set up in a very interesting way. Basically, the commissions stacked if they were equal to or greater than. So, if I pass a balloon on to Ryan, who then passes it on to Eric, and I add 5%, then Eric adds 5%, Eric ends up giving away 10% of the total earnings, right? But there was a little extra line which said that any commission that was lower than the preceding commission basically voids the preceding commission. So if I pass 5% on to Ryan, and then Ryan passes on to Eric for 2%, then I lose out, right? So you start to get some really interesting kind of strategies and structures as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan of game theory. So, with this kind of setup, you're always going to have people, right, trying to make the most rational decision. At that point, I was at, 4 ETH basically in commission. I was like, damn, like I'm not going to be left with anything. So I actually ended up finding somebody who had most of the balloons that I had, and then he could basically send me his balloons for a lower commission. So I apologize to all the people who lost out. But,
hey, that's part of the game, right?
Yeah. And yeah, so like at that point, I basically had lowered my commission. And then I knew that, if I was very close to winning, I had one balloon left. A lot of other people would also be. So basically, I enlisted 2 other people to go out and find the balloon. And, the one who came back to me, then they would then get that commission, right? So that's kind of how I ended up winning. So I think, there's 2 kind of interesting aspects for me, at least, the takeaways anyway. And that's the game theoretical aspect, so which I just mentioned, right? Like it's almost like you set up a system that incentivizes bad behavior. So I think for us kind of building in Web3, it's really important to understand that the rules that you set up will engender specific actions, right? The second one, I think, which, I've kind of gotten explained a little bit better now, is the UX and the technical side. So basically, I think I found my first balloon on the 5th floor of the main event, and it was actually MetaMask co-founder, Dan Finlay, who was bringing out this balloon, right? And I was like, cool, I found one. And then, I scanned the code, and it brings me to a website, basically explains the rules briefly. There's also like a little kind of tab on the bottom where you can see how many balloons you have. And, what's usual within kind of the Web3 space is you go to an app, you have to download it, first of all. I didn't have to do that. I could just go straight to the website, which was really kind of cool and easy. And it didn't immediately ask me to connect the wallet. In fact, I didn't even have to connect the wallet at all. throughout the whole experience. What I did have to do at one point was when I shared a balloon with somebody, I had to give a wallet address so that if that person would win, then the funds would be sent to the address that I inputted, right? So at one point you do have to like add a wallet, right? But other than that, I really didn't notice anything about it like being Web3, right? It felt a lot like a Web2 app. And yeah, I think it all kind of came together at the MetaMask building on-chain event, and that's kind of where I managed to find the last one. And Eric, you mentioned the T-shirts a little earlier. I got this one printed. I didn't want to feel left out, so I put it on. But yeah, overall it was a great experience. Obviously, I'm very grateful. I won a total of 3.25 ETH, and I think it was like 1.75, which was dished out as a commission.
Nice.
So no, it was a really good experience, and yeah, I'm also excited to see where the tooling is gonna kind of lead use cases for the delegation toolkit as well.
What I had a question, kind of, what was your strategy around finding people with the balloons? I'm not sure if you covered that or in depth. One, just besides kind of walking around, I feel like you would have to do something above and beyond just attending and kind of walking around and trying to find people with balloons. Was there anything else that you did in order to try to locate those people with the balloons?
Yeah, okay. So actually there was a way that people could actually signal to everybody that they were playing, and that was like a little red balloon sticker, which you could put on anywhere, and then people would kind of walk up to you, right?
IRL though, not like through the app. You had to have like a Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I know that you could also, once you'd like found a balloon, you could potentially screenshot the QR code within the app and then send that on through, for example, Telegram to a friend, right? I actually did most of all of my sharing through just basically meeting up with people and talking to them, right? I think that especially for me in this kind of like smaller event, or it's more kind of a smaller, let's just say, ecosystem, right? You're almost like in a bubble, so it's quite easy to walk up to people and be like, "Hey, are you playing that?" And it was quite funny because when I was at the last balloon, right, I was basically just walking up to people willy-nilly and being like, "Hey, are you playing?" They'd be like, "No," and then I'd walk off and make an enemy for life probably, But no, I think I basically heavily focused on collaboration in the beginning, especially because you're talking to people. They can give you balloons for like some crazy high commission, right? And you end up with a lot of balloons, and then it starts to matter because you're very close to winning. So,
but you only had 3 balloons, and therefore, when you're meeting these people, don't you like? Did you typically have more balloons than them, and that made it kind of obvious that they needed to share with you, or was there any kind of like static kind of talking to those people and trying to figure out who's going to give who the balloon, or could you?
Yeah. So the way that I actually won was that like I knew that if I showed a person who had my the last balloon, the last one I needed was balloon number 8, right? So the way that I actually won was I knew that if I showed somebody, hey, these are all my balloons, then they were going to be like, oh great, I'm going to give you 1 balloon and you're going to win, so you better give me a really high commission, right? So I knew that it would make more sense for me to enlist maybe somebody else to go and pick up that balloon and then bring it back for me, right? Because they're going to win, right? Because if they then know that I'm one away, they know that I'm going to find somebody if this is the kind of tactic that I'm using, right? So I told somebody, hey, go get balloon number 8 for me, bring it back to me, and we'll win together. If they then didn't do that, then then I just find somebody else. So yeah, like at one point, it became a little more urgent. Like I started off playing the game like I wasn't really going to win, and then it became quite a kind of like race to the finish line towards the end.
And I think also one big part of the game was also like why you started was the usability part, right? No wallet attached, and I mean I'm a little bit keen to understand a little bit how the usability part works, Ryan. If you can expand a little bit on basically like you're not on the
Could I just quickly add the usability? Like basically, what was interesting to me was right, like every time that this commission was set up, I didn't actually have to pay any gas fees, right? I didn't have to sign this logic. So that just like from a user experience, like that's what I noticed. I don't know what went on in the background, but yeah, that was definitely a big bonus, right? Because always having to like sign one, and then it basically just hampers the whole UX.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great to hear. Like, that's one of the things that we wanted was like, a person using this doesn't necessarily even need to know they're using crypto Web3 at all. And so how we're able to do that is with our delegator account, we have kind of like an EOA signer that's created on their session. And this isn't the most secure way to do it, right? But these Gator accounts are just finding red balloons, right? It's not like we're asking you, oh, send deposit, send ETH into this Gator account, right? And that's why we added okay, once you start sharing a balloon where you can offer a commission and we're playing with like prize money, the prize ETH, put in an address that you want to get paid out to, right? Because we didn't want ETH going into those Gator accounts, but we needed those Gator accounts so that we could kind of create that delegation, that off-chain delegation, when Niels is sharing a commission or Niels' commission is being shared with him, that is completely gasless, right? And so that's kind of like the underlying architecture that we went with when we created this.
Yeah, and there are so many use cases right now also for gaming. Think about how many people like need exactly this for usability purpose. And just random question, Ryan, like if I were like building this with the delegation toolkit, right? Like can you expand a little bit, how long will that be and how I will build it, right? Because now obviously the delegation toolkit is like you need to basically like sign. So how does it work? All this kind of like the developer experience journey.
Well, I will say like a shout out to the team who worked, everyone who had a part in building this, because we did it. We built Red Balloon app in a month leading up to ETHCC, which is super impressive. And that kind of speaks to how easy it is to use our delegation toolkit, right? All the work, if you look at the game contracts, it's like 60 lines of Solidity code. We didn't have to do much game contract work, right? All the work is in the delegation framework and in that package of smart contracts. That's why it simplifies kind of like protocol development, right? Like one other thing, a little tangent, is I just went through like a Ethereum attestation service, and I was able to simplify that code by a huge chunk. Like I took out all the bespoke delegation code because you don't need that anymore. You can just rely on the delegation framework. So I would say what we're shooting for is world-class DevX experience and allowing people to really streamline building apps and make it really simple and really quick. But not only that, like not only the same old apps, but also these new use cases, these new primitives that developers can lean into and offer to their users that users have never seen before. They're not used to this. It might be, that's what's a little bit jarring sometimes. It's like, wow, is this crypto? And I feel like that's a good experience. If we're going like, is this crypto? Then that's a terrific UX.
I think that's a good segue, kind of user experience. Niels, in the chat, if you check out the chat, there is a post to a thread that he put on Twitter or X, where he kind of outlines, how he found the 10 red balloons. It's right there on the screen, and how he won. And he goes probably into a little bit more detail there in some spaces on the overall kind of user experience and his strategy and everything. I thought it was really cool. So yeah, thanks for creating that. It's really awesome. Check it out, like it, share it, post it.
That's the mention.
Nice.
All right.
Nice. So before we're jumping into SyncSafe, right, Ryan? Like obviously you cannot tell much what's happening next, but what are the things you are like excited about on the delegation toolkit? Are developer getting some kind of like pre-build repos with the delegation incorporated, or what's coming next that people can expect?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're working on how to make this as easy as possible. So we have like templates we're working on that you can just quickly spin up. As we go through the gated alpha, we're working with partners. And one of the gifts of the delegation toolkit is there's so many different use cases you can build with, right? And that's kind of a hard part for developers, because then it's like, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. So many different options. So honing in on those kind of use cases, what do they want to build? How can this improve their current product, is something we're looking forward to, kind of stepping through that registration of people who register for the gated alpha and work with them to get through that. So yes, please register, gator.metamask.io, and we're excited to work with you.
Yeah, we had at least one person ask in the chat. Just last thing, is there any kind of information on when that will be available to the developers, even if it's just rough?
As far as like public, or so if you sign up for the registration, we're going through that list actively.
Okay.
And you're going to hear from us or whatnot, and if you get access to it. So it's going to be in this like private gated alpha to start, that only you will get access to, or whoever gets approved for the gated alpha. And then in the future, we're going to open it up publicly. Yeah.
All right. So there's your answer, James. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So let's move to the next session. So just a little bit like to give a context before like we're moving to the last part. So we basically did a quick recap on ETHCC for all the people that are joining now. Johann spoke about the DeFi adapters and all the adapters library. We had now Ryan and Niels mentioning and going through the delegation toolkit and all the Red Balloon Challenge. And that's super exciting. Awesome. So I will now invite SyncSafe. I think like those guys didn't even sleep. So they won the one of the bounty during the ETH Global Brussels. And we're just excited to have them on board to present what they built. And yeah, so how many people are you guys? Did you guys lab during the hackathon?
Hi guys, so we're a team of 4, 3 in office right now, and also there is Maxence who might be waiting to get on stage. Maybe if you can add him.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
Nice. You guys want to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll share a quick presentation. Okay.
Just for the context, so ETH Global Brussels was the last 2 days of the hackathon. We had different bounties and basically like building a cool dApp, deploying on Linea and using some of the SDK and all the dApp API suite. So let me screen share. There you are. So feel free to introduce yourself before you're jumping in the demo, and first, like also mention why you guys hacked on ETH Global Brussels and why you choose our bounties.
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah, go ahead,
Betty. Okay. So I'll go first. Yeah, so I was pretty happy to join ETHCC this week with my company. I work for a protocol called Mangrove DAO. We're an order book exchange. I'm a main engineer at Mangrove. And yeah, I basically waited for end of the week, tried not to be as tired as possible, to enjoy ETH Global, enjoy hacking with the talented team at Nefture that I know for quite a while now. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Maxence. Yeah, so on our side, so with the Nefture team, so basically we went through ETHCC and we thought it would be a nice thing to hack together in the Nefture team. So Nefture, we do cybersecurity for Web3 asset managers. So we help asset managers, be safe in their journey in Web3. And so the tech team, we created the SyncSafe team with Maxence, and yeah, that's how we came to hacking in ETH Global. And the main bounties, the main technologies we wanted to explore were Layer 0 and Gnosis Safe. And of course MetaMask, and so that was kind of like the starting point. And yeah, that's for the presentation. Then, if you want me to go directly in the project, maybe.
Sounds good.
Okay, amazing. So,
yes.
For anyone who wants to stay updated, don't hesitate to scan the QR code and to go on our website. There is a stay updated button where you can fill out your infos and you'll stay updated on our progress. So the project, it's called SyncSafe. It answers a very clear and precise pain point in Web3 today. This pain point is it's felt the most by corporations and also by DAOs in Web3 who use multi-sig accounts. So as you know, a corporation, they cannot have a private key that they share between people, because if one person leaves the corporation to go work somewhere else, or another one comes in, then it's very hard to manage, you know. So the go-to solution for them is multi-sig accounts, and one of the leaders in this space is Gnosis Safe. And so Gnosis Safe is a really widely used solution for DAOs and corporations. But one of the pain points that's been emerging since like a few years ago is the fact that our Web3 world is becoming multi-chain. So, you know, you have many L2s, many L1s. And so these corporations, they need to create a safe for every single chain. And then they need to also maintain the governance. So, you know, they create the setup, and then they need to add a new signer. They need to propagate that, synchronize this across all the chains. If they forget one, then it might become a security risk in the future. They might need to remove someone who leaves the company. And if they forget to remove this signer from, you know, a small chain or whatever, it might pose actually big security risks. And on top of that, it's also very time consuming to synchronize all your safes. So we'll go in more details on the solution after the beginning of the demo, but I would like to show you how it works. So during the 48 hours of the hackathon, we were able to create this dApp. So this dApp, you can get on it, connect your wallet with MetaMask, and then you can create your first sync safe. So let's create my first sync safe. My address, then I prepared. So this is going to be my signer. It's also the wallet I'm connected it with. And then you can choose your chains. This thing here is very similar to what you would find on a safe. The new part is this. You choose the chains that you want to deploy your safe to. So let's choose all of them. And then you click deploy. It's going to bring up MetaMask, and it's going to allow you to deploy your safe across chains. So this is the first part of our product. It allows you to create a safe across multiple chains in one transaction. So now if I go to my wallet and I update, we'll see the transaction here. I let Maxence explain the solution, how it works technically during the time that we wait for the synchronization and the indexing for Gnosis Safe.
Yeah, so basically, as we said, the starting point for the bounties were one of the starting point was layer 0 and Gnosis Safe. So Safe allows two types of smart contract operators. One is a guard, one is a module. And so basically a module, once allowed to interact with your Safe smart account, can do anything. Basically, it can change signers, can basically do any transactions that it wants on your Safe account. And a guard can be seen kind of like a hook where it's called before and after transactions, either by EOAs or modules. And so from there, we detected every state changes being change of signers, change of thresholds. And when a change is detected, what we actually do is just broadcast a transaction to layer 0, which itself is broadcasting to every other chains. And so it's very convenient, because if it's a guard and a module, it means that even if you are on the Safe UI and just changing the users from there, it's gonna automatically do the exact same thing, meaning it's gonna broadcast through all of the chains of your Safe the change in owners and threshold, meaning that it's completely headless. Like if you forgot you created the Safe via sync safe, it's going to be completely automated, fully trustless, and fully on chain. So that's why the solution was pretty interesting to dig in. And that's pretty much all we have to say. Otherwise, I think we will jump into too much details. Yeah.
Okay, so great timing, Maxence, because the layer 0 transaction that just went through. So right now, if I go back on the dApp, so we are done. I can go back and if I refresh, it's going to show the sync safe that I just deployed. You can see it's available on all the chains. And now if I go on Gnosis Safe, so you can see that beforehand I had no safes in my wallet. And if I refresh, yeah, it's going to show me the 3 safes that were all created. So now the next step is actually to update our safe. It's like the main feature that we're adding to safe accounts. So I can go here, click add new safe. So as you saw, I had another address. I can add it here. Next, we're going to keep the threshold at 1 of 2. Let's go. Okay. Little demo issue. Okay, maybe because of the paymaster, so we need to fund the paymaster, so maybe it's an issue with that. But anyways, I'll explain to you what happens. So basically, we would push the transaction through. So as you can see, an interesting thing is that you don't rely on any dApp. You don't rely on our dApp. Once it's created, you can just use the regular Gnosis Safe dApp, add signers, and it will automatically propagate. So what it does actually is that the module catches the update of the safe, and then it sends a message to layer 0, and layer 0 handles updating your safe on every single chain. This process is trustless because we propagate the signature from all the signers and we re-verify it. So yeah, there's a little issue with the demo here. Maybe we can try again. Yeah, no. So it's probably lack of funds because of the paymaster, which is a feature that we're also developing. So the idea is that you don't need to pay for the layer 0 fees when you make the transactions. We create a paymaster that just pays the fees for you. I think the paymaster might not have enough funds, but yeah, it actually works. We have a lot of. Well, actually, I can show you. So we have. Yeah. So we have this transaction that I pushed through earlier, and you can see that we have packet delivers through layer 0. This actually updates the safe, and then without any dApps, you can come back on your safe. And on all of the different safes, okay, come back to the, yeah. So, and then you'll find that on all the safes, on all the chains, the governance is going to be updated. So we're really synchronizing the state on all the chains. That's the value that our project brings. And it saves you a lot of time, and it avoids any security risks from happening. So again, if you want to follow us, to give us feedback, if you're interested in testing the solution early, feel free to scan the QR code and click on the stay updated link to give us your infos.
Awesome.
And yeah,
nice.
to the MetaMask.
We can definitely attest.
For getting.
We can definitely attest that it's working.
Thank you very much.
It is working.
That's good. You guys are continuously building the project, right? Like, what's the plan next?
Yeah,
like,
so
any specific features?
Like we got a lot of feedback that this product is solving some real world issues. Some really people, corporations that actually today spend a lot of time to synchronize their Gnosis Safe. So I think it brings a lot of value. So if we really find a community that wants this product to be pushed forward, I think, yeah, we're going to definitely continue the project to make this happen. We have a lot of ideas. So I talked about the paymaster so that the whole flow is seamless. And you also can just use your regular Gnosis Safe dApp. We have ideas to make it 100% trustless so that we don't rely on the security of layer 0. We would also be able to integrate other, solutions like layer 0. So maybe Chainlink or others.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
But we have a lot more ideas to push the product and yeah. But yeah, we're really in need of people who feel this pain to enable us to push the product in the right direction. So yeah.
Are you guys looking for contributors, or what kind of time frame are you looking at to maybe release it?
That's a good question. So contributors, 100%. The project is the whole project is open source. For timelines, to be completely frank, we just got out of East Global, so I think we might need to sit down with the team and see, okay, what do we want for the V1? How much time can we provide to this project? And when can we release it?
Yeah,
and it will also depend on
solidifying.
if we have like, thousands of people who say we need this now, we need this now. Maybe we'll prioritize it.
Yeah, no, we talked about during the hackathon demo, some of the different kind of situations that it's solving, and it's a really, I think, important project. And I always like to see especially when a team walks away with multiple bounty wins and sometimes like an ETH Global finalist win, to see them carry on those projects and see them actually turn into something. So we'll be standing by and hoping to keep in contact with you guys as you continue to build it out. And yeah, we're rooting for you. We want to see this.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for inviting us.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. And as you guys do, I think ETH Global Singapore will be the next.
Yeah.
For some good bounties. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of which, let's move to the last part so that we are keeping up with timing. So again, thanks Baptiste, thanks Maxence. So super quick, so we'll recap a little bit different topics, quick things that we want to mention. So what's coming next, right? So we have a couple of IRL events that will be planned to. There is ETH Tokyo the 28th of August, and we're planning also to run this Builder Night Tokyo. Will be a mix of 437 and layer 2 infra topic. So it will be excited, and then the big part will be ETH Global Singapore and Token 2049, right? Anything to add before we're moving? What's coming after this, Eric?
Bangkok.
Oh yeah, that would be huge. We're already speaking right now, and I think there is already something like 150 developer events happening. Yeah. I think this time we will be super focused and laser focused on developer workshop, trying to onboard and make really developers build cool stuff, especially on the usability focus. I mean, the fact that we saw the Red Balloon Challenge, how it's being built. And on the usability side, it's clear me a lot of think about top usage.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for that team, but if I were people in the community going out to some of these bigger kind of ETH events, I would expect to maybe see some other type of game similar, and maybe start thinking about strategies or reading about how the Red Balloon thing went down, so that maybe you can be prepared for that. Again, I don't have any insider information, but I can just imagine these guys are wanting to do something again. That would be really cool. And as for kind of our DevRel team, as we go out to these events, we're just trying to figure out ways that we can enable developers, through workshops, like you said, building CLIs to make sure that the hackers can get started really quickly with a file new project CLI for a web dApp. So super excited to continue working on that stuff and get out to some of these events.
Yeah, and for anybody that also is not traveling or doesn't have any plan to travel, we're planning more of those community calls. The next one I think is happening the last Thursday of next month. So that will be exciting, and also like we did last month with this attestation X space. We're planning also to run more of those spaces. So yeah, a lot of exciting things are happening. One thing that we want to mention is that we got a lot of feedbacks also from the community around different topics they want to hear more. So this time we got more serious, and we put here a kind of a feedback form. So this is literally maybe 1 minute. And it's just to share what you guys want to hear, what topics you want to hear more, because the format is clear, right? We are speaking about different product updates. We're also trying to be the platform where hackathon winners and great ecosystem demos are coming and want to present. But also we want to hear from you guys what we want to hear, what topics you want to see more, or what use case you want to see more. I think that's a little bit it, Eric, right? Absolutely. Yeah. We want to hear as much as possible from the people that are watching these calls to find out what you guys want to hear about. Also, next month, we're going to have a demo from one of the teams that
won the bounty that built a snap also. We didn't mention that, but yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to that next call. Looking forward to hear what you guys say on the forum also, so that we can help to kind of curate these calls to make sure we're bringing you guys what you want to hear. That's all.
Sounds good. Awesome. So thank you so much, everybody. And I think we were 8 minutes late, but I think it was worth it. I think Cafe was a great demo, and a lot of like those teams out, I think, of 2,000 developers in the hackathon, like people slept barely for those 48 hours, and it's great to see like what people are building and driving. So awesome. Thanks, Eric, also for hosting this, and thanks everybody for everybody that was checking out the chat and responding to the chat, and in the background so many things are happening in the same time. So thank you guys, and see you guys next month.